Subscribe to my channel Tales That Burn and press the bell icon for new stories. They laughed at tiny army until they realized it had human soldiers. The galactic arena roared with laughter. On the polished obsidian floors of the Dominion War Games, where the galaxy's greatest warriors competed, stood a small contingent of troops. They were dwarfed by the armies of reptilian warlords, insectoid swarms, and machine legions. Compared to the thousands of titanic soldiers in gleaming armor, this force looked like a joke. 80 soldiers. Barely a company. Each clad in mismatched armor, weapons strapped to their backs with crude harnesses. The announcer's voice echoed across the Colosseum, dripping with mockery. Presenting the so-called tiny army. Can you even call this an army? The crowd howled. Alien generals pointed with clawed fingers. Crystal-bodied diplomats laughed so hard their edges cracked. Even the artificial minds, who rarely expressed amusement, flickered their lights in derision. To the galaxy, this was sport. A chance to watch arrogance punished. No one noticed the subtle confidence in the stance of the 80 soldiers. No one cared that their armor bore the insignia of Earth. Because no one, not yet, understood what it meant when the tiny army was human. The first wave began. From the far side of the arena, 10,000 armored reptilian warriors surged forward, scales glistening under the sun of the domed sky. Their footfalls shook the ground. Their war cries rattled the air. The audience leaned forward, eager for the slaughter. But the humans did not scatter. They did not retreat. They charged. Compact, disciplined, terrifyingly fast. The reptilian army had expected fear. They met fire instead. The first human volley rang out, not the heavy plasma fire of galactic wars, but sharp, precise kinetic rounds. Simple bullets. Outdated by thousands of years. Yet when fired with human precision, they found weak points in armor seams, in throats, in exposed joints. Dozens of reptilian warriors fell in seconds. And then the humans were among them. Knives flashed. Explosives detonated. Humans fought in twos and threes, moving like predators in a pack. Where a reptilian towered over them, they ducked under claws, stabbing upward into vital arteries. Where they were outnumbered, they lured their foes into choke points and cut them down with ruthless efficiency. Within minutes, the ground was littered with reptilian bodies. The laughter in the audience faltered. Next came the insectoid swarm. A tide of chittering bodies, wings slicing the air, mandibles dripping venom. They poured across the arena like living rivers. The humans adapted instantly. Flamethrowers roared to life. Barriers of fire carved through the swarm. Grenades burst in showers of shrapnel, turning clusters of insects into wet smears across the ground. When the swarm tried to envelop them, humans switched formation, locking shields and stabbing upward with bayonets in a rhythm as old as history. A chant began among the soldiers, harsh, guttural, unbroken. The sound of a species that had fought on muddy fields and frozen trenches, in deserts and cities, against impossible odds, and survived every time. The insectoid swarm broke. Not slowly, not with hesitation, but with terror. For the first time in the War Games' long history, an entire swarm retreated. The arena was silent. By now, the alien generals leaned forward. Their amusement had turned to confusion, and then to unease. They could not understand it. 80 soldiers should not have lasted minutes. And yet, the tiny army stood taller than ever, blooded but unbroken. The next challenge was deployed. A machine legion. Towering constructs of steel and plasma, each weaponized with the latest technologies of galactic warfare. Their programming was flawless, their precision unmatched. The machines marched forward, energy cannons powering up. The humans didn't fire first. They waited. Then, as the machines opened fire, the soldiers moved, not randomly, but with impossible timing. They read the attack patterns. They rolled, dove, sprinted, not as individuals, but as a single, unified force. Bullets meant nothing against armored machines. But humans didn't fight the armor. They fought the weaknesses. EMP grenades arced through the air, disabling clusters of constructs. Soldiers swarmed the fallen machines, planting charges, ripping out cores with bare hands. One soldier leapt onto the back of a towering mech, carving into its wiring with a combat knife before detonating its fuel supply. The Colosseum lit up with explosions. When the smoke cleared, the Legion were scrap metal. And 80 humans still stood. By now, the audience was not laughing. They were whispering. Fearful. Confused. How? They are too few. They should be dead. The announcer's voice trembled. Next, the champions. From the gates marched 20 alien titans, each one the size of a tank, bred for war and destruction. Muscles like boulders, tusks dripping with venom, eyes glowing with hunger. They were the war game's final trial, the unstoppable monsters that had ended countless armies. The humans didn't retreat. They advanced. Close quarters combat erupted. The titans swung massive clubs, humans slipped under the arcs. Bones cracked, blood spilled, but the soldiers fought with an intensity that was not logical, not efficient. It was personal. One soldier leapt onto a titan's chest, jamming explosives into its mouth before diving clear. Another dragged a wounded comrade out of harm's way with one arm while firing with the other. They fought until the arena shook, until the dust turned crimson. And when the last titan fell, the 80 still stood. Bruised. Blooded. But alive. Silence. A silence so vast it felt like the galaxy itself was holding its breath. The tiny army raised their weapons in salute. Not to the crowd. Not to the aliens. To each other. The announcer's voice cracked, barely audible. Victory goes to the humans. And in that moment, the galaxy realized its blunder. For centuries, they had dismissed Earth. Too young. Too small. Too reckless. A primitive world clawing its way into the stars. But here, in this arena, the truth became undeniable. Humans were not the strongest. Not the fastest. Not the smartest. But they were the most dangerous. Because where others fought to win, humans fought to survive. And survival was a war they had mastered better than anyone. From that day forward, no one laughed at the phrase tiny army. Because across the stars, the words carried a new meaning. It meant, beware. There are humans among them. Friends. This was today's story from Tales That Burn Fire. If you enjoyed the story, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss any new stories.